There is a jar in almost every kitchen that people treat as nothing more than a sweetener, and in doing so, they throw away one of the most studied natural compounds on the planet. Raw honey is not sugar with a marketing story. It is antifungal. It is prebiotic. It feeds the bacteria that build your sleep chemistry, and the overwhelming majority of people who keep it on the shelf are using it in a way that erases almost everything that makes it powerful. The honey most of us grew up with is the problem. It is heated until every living enzyme is dead, filtered until every trace of pollen and propolis is gone, and sometimes cut with corn syrup before it ever reaches the shelf. What is left is a smooth, shelf-stable syrup that behaves in your body exactly like the sugar you are trying to avoid. Real, raw honey is a different substance entirely, and the difference is not poetry. It is chemistry you can measure. In this video, we are going to walk through exactly what raw honey does inside you over a 30-day window. How it suppresses candida overgrowth, how it helps repair the lining of a leaky gut, how its specific sugars feed the microbes that quietly run your mood and your sleep, and how a single spoonful at the right time of night can lower the cortisol that keeps you staring at the ceiling at 2 in the morning. None of this requires a prescription, and none of it requires you to spend more than the price of one good jar. You do not need a homestead or a beehive to start. You need one jar of genuinely raw honey and the knowledge of how to use it, which is the part almost nobody gets right. By the end of this video, you will know how to pick honey that actually works, how to take it so the heat of your tea does not destroy it, and the simple 30-day rhythm that lets your gut, your immune system, and your sleep all shift at once. And this is not a modern wellness trend dressed up in old clothes. Honey is one of the oldest medicines we have any record of. The Egyptians used it on wounds 4,000 years ago. It appears in the oldest medical text ever found, prescribed for the gut, for the skin, for the throat. What is genuinely new is that laboratory science has spent the last few decades confirming, mechanism by mechanism, why those ancient healers were right. We are not rediscovering folklore. We are reading the chemistry underneath it. There is also a bigger thread running through everything on this channel, and honey is the perfect doorway into it. The further a food gets from its living, whole form, the more it tends to work against your body, and the closer it stays to that form, the more it tends to work with you. Honey is the cleanest possible illustration, because the very same substance, depending only on whether it has been heated and stripped, can be either a healing medicine or just another spoon of sugar. The processing is the entire difference. Number 4 is the reason a spoonful before bed can do what a melatonin pill cannot, and it has nothing to do with the sugar and everything to do with a hormone most people have never connected to honey. Wait for number 6, because it explains why honey can sit on a shelf for 3,000 years without spoiling, and why that same property is what makes it a wound dressing hospitals still reach for today. If you want more of the real science behind the food and plants that actually change how you feel, subscribe and come along, because this channel is built for exactly that kind of curiosity. And a quick tap on the like button tells the algorithm this knowledge is worth showing to the next person searching for a way out of the supplement aisle. Number 1. Antifungal power, the candida killer. Candida is a yeast that lives in everyone, quietly and harmlessly, until the balance tips. Too much sugar, a course of antibiotics, chronic stress, and that yeast can bloom into an overgrowth that drives bloating, sugar cravings, brain fog, and a stubborn coating on the tongue. The strange and counterintuitive truth is that raw honey, a sweet food, is one of the natural compounds best documented for pushing that yeast back into balance. The reason is an enzyme the bees themselves add to the nectar, called glucose oxidase. When raw honey meets moisture in your body, that enzyme slowly releases tiny, steady amounts of hydrogen peroxide, not the harsh kind in a brown bottle under your sink, but a low, continuous trickle that yeast and harmful bacteria cannot tolerate, while your beneficial microbes are largely unbothered. Heat destroys this enzyme completely, which is the first reason supermarket honey does nothing here. There is a second weapon, a peptide called bee defensin 1, part of the bee's own immune system that carries straight into the honey. It punches holes in fungal cell walls. Between the slow peroxide release and this defensin, raw honey creates an environment where candida simply cannot hold its territory. Researchers have watched this happen in the lab against the exact strains that cause human overgrowth. Here is the part that confuses people. If candida feeds on sugar, how can a sugar fight it? The answer is that raw honey is not just sugar. Its antifungal compounds act faster and more directly than the small amount of glucose it provides, and its specific sugar structure is harder for yeast to exploit than the refined glucose and fructose in processed food. You are not feeding the fire. You are bringing a different chemistry to the table entirely. The lab evidence here is more solid than most people expect. Researchers have repeatedly placed raw honey against cultures of Candida albicans, the strain behind most human overgrowth, and watched it slow and halt that growth. Manuka honey and other potent raw varieties have shown the ability to disrupt the protective films that yeast colonies build around themselves, the same films that make stubborn overgrowth so hard to clear. When honey is heated and filtered into supermarket syrup, that activity collapses, which tells you the effect lies in the living compounds, not the sugar. Picture how candida overgrowth actually shows up in a real life. It is rarely dramatic. It is the afternoon bloat that has no obvious cause, the sugar craving that feels almost physical, the film on the tongue in the morning, the low fog that you blame on poor sleep. Yeast thrives on the refined sugar in a processed diet, which is why these symptoms so often travel together. Swapping that refined sugar for a small daily dose of raw honey changes the terrain underneath the problem rather than just chasing the symptoms. To use honey against candida, take a single teaspoon of genuinely raw honey on an empty stomach, ideally first thing in the morning, and let it coat your mouth and throat before you swallow. Do not stir it into boiling tea. Do not bake with it. Do not drown it in anything hot. The enzymes that do the work are fragile, and the moment you cook them, you are left with expensive syrup. Start small and consistent rather than large and occasional. 1 teaspoon a day, every day, does far more than a tablespoon once a week. If you are new to this, that single morning spoonful is your entire starting protocol, and it is enough to begin shifting the balance within the first couple of weeks. Number 2. Gut lining repair. Sealing the leaks. The wall of your gut is a single cell thick in places, a delicate barrier that is supposed to let nutrients through while keeping everything else out. When that barrier becomes inflamed and permeable, what doctors casually call a leaky gut, undigested particles and toxins slip into the bloodstream, and your immune system stays locked in a low, exhausting state of alarm. Raw honey helps on 2 fronts at once. Its anti-inflammatory compounds, particularly a group of plant-derived antioxidants called flavonoids that the bees carry in from flowers, calm the irritation in that lining. At the same time, its antibacterial action reduces the harmful overgrowth that keeps the barrier inflamed in the first place. Less fire and fewer things feeding the fire. There is older wisdom here that the science is now catching up to. Honey has been used to soothe digestive complaints for thousands of years across nearly every culture that kept bees. We now understand part of why. It is not coating the gut like a bandage, so much as changing the conditions inside it, lowering inflammation, and shifting the microbial balance toward repair. Consider what actually drives a leaky gut in the first place. Chronic stress, a diet heavy in refined sugar and processed oils, repeated rounds of antibiotics, too much alcohol. Each of these inflames the lining and feeds the wrong microbes, and the damaged barrier then keeps the immune system on permanent alert, which itself produces more inflammation. It is a loop. Raw honey works because it pushes on more than one point of that loop at the same time, calming the inflammation while crowding out the microbes that perpetuate it. Studies on honey and the digestive tract have shown it can help protect the stomach and gut lining and support a healthier balance of bacteria, and some research points to honey easing the kind of irritation involved in reflux and gastritis. As always, I will be honest that this is a developing field rather than a closed case, but the direction of the evidence is consistent, and it lines up neatly with the thousands of years of traditional use. That combination is worth paying attention to. The deeper mechanism is something we will return to in the next chapter because raw honey contains special sugars that are not for you at all. They pass through your small intestine undigested and arrive in your large intestine as food for the exact bacteria that produce the compounds your gut wall needs to rebuild itself. The gut does not heal in isolation. It heals when its microbes are fed. For gut support, you can take honey in slightly warm water or tea, but the key word is warm, never hot. If you can comfortably hold your finger in the liquid, it is cool enough to protect the honey. Take it between meals rather than with a large meal, so it reaches the gut wall without competing with everything else you have eaten. Give this one time. The gut lining renews itself over a matter of weeks, not days, which is exactly why a 30-day window is the right frame for honey. The people who give up after 3 days never see the change. The people who make it a quiet daily habit are the ones who notice, somewhere in week 3, that the bloating and the discomfort have simply faded into the background. Number 3, sleep and cortisol, the bedtime spoonful. This is the use that surprises people the most because it sounds backwards. Eat something sweet right before bed to sleep better? But the logic of it is precise, and it has to do with how your brain is fueled overnight and how the stress hormone cortisol behaves while you sleep. While you sleep, your brain still needs a steady supply of fuel, and it draws that fuel from a reserve of glycogen stored in your liver. When that reserve runs low in the early hours, your body interprets the shortage as a stress event and releases cortisol and adrenaline to free up emergency energy. That hormone surge is exactly what wakes a lot of people at 3 or 4 in the morning, hearts faintly racing, minds suddenly switched on. A small amount of raw honey before bed tops up that liver glycogen in a slow, gentle way. The unique sugar ratio in honey is absorbed steadily rather than spiking and crashing, which keeps the brain fueled through the night and prevents that stress hormone wake-up. People who try this often report not that they fall asleep faster, but that they stop waking in the small hours and finally sleep through. That 3 in the morning wake-up is so common it has almost become a joke, but the mechanism behind it is real. When the liver's fuel runs low overnight, the body treats it as an emergency and pours out cortisol and adrenaline to release stored energy. Those are alerting hormones. They are designed to wake you up and get you moving. So you find yourself wide awake, sometimes anxious, for no reason you can name, and unable to get back down because your stress chemistry is now switched on. Keeping the fuel topped up quietly removes the trigger. This is also the hidden logic behind an old remedy that grandmothers swore by: a little honey in warm milk before bed. For generations, people assumed it was simply comforting. We can now see there is real physiology in it. The honey stabilizes overnight blood sugar, and the warm milk provides tryptophan, a building block your body uses in the sleep and mood pathway. The folk remedy was quietly correct, and now we understand the wiring. Plain sugar would spike your blood glucose and trigger an insulin crash that does the opposite of what you want. Raw honey's particular blend of fructose and glucose, along with its trace compounds, produces a smoother, more sustained release. This is the mechanism teased at the start of this video, and it is why a spoonful of honey can succeed where a melatonin tablet, which addresses a completely different part of the sleep system, often disappoints. The protocol is simple. 1 teaspoon of raw honey about 30 minutes before bed, taken on its own or in a little cool water. Not a tablespoon, not a dessert, just a teaspoon. More is not better here, because a large dose can swing your blood sugar the wrong way. The goal is a quiet, steady fuel reserve, not a sugar event. If you currently wake at the same time every night and struggle to get back down, this is the single experiment from this entire video I would try first. Give it 2 weeks of consistency. The cost is 1 teaspoon a night, and the potential payoff is the kind of unbroken sleep that changes how every other part of your day feels. Number 4, prebiotic fuel, feeding the microbiome. We touched on this earlier, and now we go deeper, because this may be the most underappreciated thing raw honey does. Hidden among its sugars is a category of compounds called oligosaccharides, complex sugar chains that your own digestive enzymes cannot break down. Because you cannot digest them, these oligosaccharides travel all the way to your large intestine intact, and there they become a feast for your beneficial bacteria, especially the bifidobacteria and lactobacilli that researchers associate with good mood, strong immunity, and a calm gut. In other words, part of what you eat in raw honey is not for you at all. It is for the trillions of microbes that quietly shape how you feel. This is what makes honey a prebiotic, food for your good bacteria, which is different from a probiotic, which is the bacteria themselves. The two work together. And honey's prebiotic effect is gentle and well tolerated, where some prebiotic supplements cause uncomfortable bloating as the microbes adjust. Raw honey tends to feed them at a pace your gut can handle. When those beneficial bacteria ferment the special sugars in honey, they produce compounds called short-chain fatty acids, and these are quietly some of the most important molecules in your whole body. They are the preferred fuel for the cells lining your colon. They help keep the gut barrier tight and sealed, and they send anti-inflammatory signals that travel far beyond the gut. So the prebiotic sugars in honey do not just feed bacteria in the abstract. They drive the production of the exact compounds that repair the gut lining we discussed earlier. Every chapter in this video is connected to the others. Microbial diversity is the real prize. A modern processed diet, low in fiber and high in refined sugar, tends to starve out the variety of bacteria and leave a narrow, less resilient population behind. That loss of diversity is associated with all kinds of problems, from mood disorders to weakened immunity. Feeding your microbes a steady supply of the prebiotic sugars in raw honey is one small daily way to nudge that diversity back in the right direction. Here is why this reaches all the way to your mood. The bacteria that these oligosaccharides feed are deeply involved in producing and regulating the neurotransmitters that govern how you feel, including the precursors to serotonin. A well-fed microbiome is, in a very real biochemical sense, part of your emotional regulation system. Feed it well over weeks, and many people notice a steadier, calmer baseline. For the prebiotic benefit, consistency beats quantity, just like everywhere else with honey. A daily teaspoon delivers a steady supply of these special sugars to your gut bacteria, and a steady supply is what they thrive on. Pair it, if you like, with other prebiotic foods such as garlic, onions, slightly green bananas, and oats, and you build a diet your microbiome genuinely flourishes on. The accessible version of this is almost laughably simple. Replace one processed sweet thing in your day, a flavored yogurt, a spoon of jam, a sugary coffee syrup with a teaspoon of raw honey. You are not adding anything difficult to your life. You are swapping something that feeds the wrong microbes for something that feeds the right ones. Number 5, immune priming, the daily defense. A huge portion of your immune system lives in and around your gut, which means everything we have already discussed: the antimicrobial action, the gut repair, the fed microbiome, feeds directly into a stronger, more balanced immune response. But raw honey also brings its own immune-supporting cargo to the table. Raw, unfiltered honey carries traces of pollen, propolis, and a wide spectrum of plant antioxidants that the bees gather from hundreds of flowers. Propolis in particular is the resin bees use to seal and protect their hive, and it is rich in antimicrobial and anti-inflammatory compounds. When you eat raw honey, you are getting a tiny, diverse dose of all of it, the kind of variety no single supplement can replicate. This is why raw honey has been a frontline remedy for sore throats and coughs across so many cultures and centuries. It coats and soothes irritated tissue. Its antimicrobial action goes to work on what is causing the irritation, and major health bodies now recommend honey for nighttime coughs in older children precisely because the evidence holds up. Old wisdom and modern research pointing at the same jar. The cough evidence is genuinely strong and worth dwelling on because it is so well documented. In controlled trials, a spoonful of honey before bed has matched or outperformed common over-the-counter cough medicines for easing nighttime cough and helping children and their parents actually sleep. That is a rare thing in natural medicine, a simple kitchen remedy holding its own against a pharmaceutical product in a proper trial. It works because it is doing several things at once: soothing the tissue, fighting microbes, and triggering saliva that calms the cough reflex. Beyond acute illness, the steady antioxidant load matters for the long game. Raw honey is rich in polyphenols and flavonoids, the same family of protective plant compounds found in berries, green tea, and dark leafy greens. These compounds help neutralize the cellular stress that drives chronic inflammation and aging. A daily teaspoon is not going to outdo a plate of vegetables, but it adds a small, pleasant, consistent stream of these protective compounds to your day, which is exactly the kind of quiet habit that compounds over months and years. There is a popular idea that eating local honey can ease seasonal allergies by gently exposing you to local pollens. The evidence for that specific claim is mixed and far from settled, so I will not oversell it. What is better supported is the broad immune and anti-inflammatory benefit of the antioxidants and trace compounds in raw honey taken consistently, regardless of where it is from. For immune support, the daily teaspoon remains your foundation, and you can lean on honey more deliberately at the first sign of a scratchy throat. Stir it into warm, never-boiling water with a squeeze of lemon, or simply take it straight off the spoon to let it coat the throat directly. The straight spoonful is genuinely the most effective delivery for a sore throat. Keep a jar of real raw honey in the house the way you would keep any basic remedy. It does not expire, it costs little per use, and it gives you a gentle, evidence-backed first response for the small, everyday assaults on your immune system, long before you reach for anything stronger. Number 6. Wound and skin healing, the 3,000-year medicine. This is the answer to the hook from the start of this video. Honey has been found in ancient tombs, thousands of years old, still perfectly preserved and edible. The same property that lets it last forever is exactly what makes it a wound healer that modern hospitals still use today. Honey almost never spoils because it is a hostile environment for microbes. It is extremely low in water and high in sugar, which draws moisture out of any bacteria that land in it, and its slow peroxide release and acidity finish the job. Spread onto a wound, that same combination draws fluid away from the tissue, keeps bacteria from taking hold, and creates a moist, protected environment in which skin can rebuild. This is not folklore. Medical-grade honey dressings are a real, regulated product used in hospitals for burns, ulcers, and wounds that resist ordinary treatment. Certain honeys, like genuine Manuka, are prized for an additional, non-peroxide antibacterial compound that makes them especially potent. The honey in your kitchen is not sterilized for clinical use, but the principle that makes those dressings work is the very same chemistry. Think about why honey never spoils, because it is the key to all of this. Honey is hygroscopic, meaning it pulls water toward itself, and it is naturally acidic. A bacterium that lands in honey has the water sucked out of it through simple osmosis and is hit with acidity and that slow peroxide release at the same time. It is an environment almost nothing can survive in. That is why a sealed jar lasts essentially forever. And it is exactly why a wound coated in honey stays protected from infection while the body underneath does its repair work in a clean, moist field. There is a forward-looking reason this matters more every year. As antibiotic resistance grows and some bacteria stop responding to our strongest drugs, researchers have circled back to honey with real interest because microbes struggle to develop resistance to it. Honey does not attack with a single mechanism the way an antibiotic does. It overwhelms with several at once: the osmosis, the acidity, the peroxide, the plant compounds, and that combined assault is very hard for a microbe to evolve around. An ancient remedy is quietly becoming a frontier of modern research. At home, raw honey makes a gentle, effective treatment for minor skin issues. As a simple face mask, it can calm redness and acne thanks to its antibacterial action, and it holds moisture against the skin without stripping it. A thin layer left on for 15 or 20 minutes and rinsed with warm water is the entire recipe, and it costs a fraction of most products promising the same. For a minor scrape or burn at home, a thin layer of raw honey under a clean dressing can soothe and protect while it heals. For anything serious, deep, or infected, this is a complement to proper medical care, never a replacement for it, and you should always see a professional. Used sensibly for the small stuff, though, that jar is one of the oldest and best proven remedies humanity has. The accessible takeaway is that this single jar quietly replaces several things: a throat remedy, a basic wound salve, a simple face mask, and a nightly sleep aid, all in one inexpensive, shelf-stable food. Few things in any kitchen earn their place so many times over. Number 7. Choosing real honey. How not to get fooled. Everything in this video depends on one thing: that the honey you buy is actually raw and actually honey. And here is the uncomfortable reality: a great deal of the honey on store shelves is heavily processed, and some of it is diluted or even counterfeit, cut with cheap syrups. If you get this step wrong, none of the rest works. Start with the label, but do not trust it blindly. The word natural means nothing. The word pure means little. What you are looking for is the word raw, ideally alongside unfiltered or unpasteurized, and a single, clear source. Vague blends labeled as a product of multiple countries are the ones most associated with adulteration. The best honey usually comes from a named local beekeeper or a trusted small producer. Trust your eyes. Real raw honey is often cloudy, not crystal clear, because it still contains pollen and tiny particles. Over time, it will crystallize, turning grainy or solid, and this is a sign of authenticity, not spoilage. Honey that stays perfectly clear and liquid for years has almost certainly been heated and ultra-filtered, stripped of the very things you are paying for. If it crystallizes, gently warming the jar in warm water brings it back without harm. It is worth understanding why so much fake honey exists, because it makes you a sharper buyer. Honey is expensive to produce honestly, and there's enormous demand, which creates a powerful incentive to cut it with cheap rice or corn syrup, or to import ultra-processed honey of unknown origin and relabel it. Investigations have repeatedly found that a meaningful share of honey on the global market is adulterated or mislabeled. None of this is to scare you, only to explain why a vague jar from an unknown blend is a genuine gamble, and why proximity to the actual beekeeper is your best protection. A quick word on variety, because it matters for what you are after. Darker honeys, like buckwheat, tend to carry more antioxidants than the pale, mild ones. Manuka, from the tea tree of New Zealand and Australia, carries that special extra antibacterial compound and is graded for potency, which is why it costs the most and is favored for therapeutic use. For everyday purposes, a good local raw honey is excellent. If you specifically want maximum antimicrobial punch for the throat and wound uses, a genuine graded Manuka is the one to keep alongside it. There are rough home tests. Real honey is thick and drips in a slow, unbroken ribbon, while watered-down honey runs thin and fast. Real honey resists dissolving instantly in cold water, sinking in a lump before it spreads. These tests are not laboratory grade, and I would not stake everything on them, but combined with a trustworthy source, they tilt the odds firmly in your favor. The single best move is to buy from someone who can tell you where the honey came from. A local beekeeper at a market, a reputable small apiary, a farm stand. You pay a little more than you would for a plastic bear at the supermarket, but you are buying the real, living substance this entire video is about, rather than a syrup wearing its name. You do not need 10 jars. You need one good one, stored at room temperature with the lid sealed, away from heat. That single, honest jar, used a teaspoon at a time, is the entire foundation for everything we have covered, and it will last you longer than you would think. Step back and look at what one jar actually offers. A food that pushes back against candida, that calms and helps reseal an inflamed gut, that feeds the microbes shaping your mood, that quietly fuels your brain through the night so you stop waking at 3, that supports your immune system, and that has served as a wound medicine for longer than recorded history. All of it from something most people treat as a sugar substitute, and nothing more. What ties all of these together is a single idea. Raw honey is not powerful because it is sweet. It is powerful because it is alive, full of enzymes, antioxidants, special sugars, and trace compounds that processing destroys. The moment you understand that, the choice between a cheap squeeze bottle and a real jar from a beekeeper stops being about price and starts being about whether you want food or medicine. If you take only one thing from this video, let it be the simplest one. Buy a jar of genuinely raw honey this week and take 1 teaspoon of it each night about half an hour before bed. That single habit touches your sleep, your gut, and your stress chemistry all at once, and it asks almost nothing of you in return. Give it the 30 days. Let your own experience be the evidence. You do not have to overhaul your life to feel the difference. You do not need a garden or a hive or a single supplement. You need one honest jar and a little consistency, and the patience to let 30 days do what 30 days can do. That is the whole protocol, and it is genuinely within reach for anyone watching. If this changed how you see that jar in your cupboard, subscribe and stay with us, because the next videos go just as deep into the everyday plants and foods that quietly heal. And tell me in the comments whether you are going to try the bedtime spoonful, because I read them, and the people who report back 2 weeks later are the ones who tend to surprise themselves. Next time we are staying with sleep, but moving into the garden, 5 teas you can grow yourself that drop your cortisol and trigger your body's own melatonin so you can put down the supplements for good.